There was a good team around me and we thought we had everything covered, and we didn't. I remember thinking that if we didn't get all these servers up before people came in at 8 AM in the morning, then I'd be in serious trouble because there'd be no cellular service.
Welcome back, Scotty. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
So why don't we jump into introducing yourself to the audience really quickly?
Scott Bain, CEO of SaferCities,
Yeah.
enabling safety by connecting people and stuff.
Some stuff, I love that. Well, today we're going to kick into you being a boss.
Okay.
All right. So talk a little bit about, we talked about in the past about just your journey, the team that you're building, the culture, the purpose-driven stuff. There's a lot of that that's been driven by you.
Yep.
And so we want to dig into that a little bit about you and your career. First of all, just let's get a bit of a backstory. How long have you been working?
I started when I was 12, so just 40 years, just a bit more than 40 years, so long time.
Oh, I thought start 12, that's maybe 15 years or so, 40, okay, cool. Well, when did you start leading teams then?
Probably my mid-20s.
Yeah, what was that first sort of role? That
was sort of aviation industry, telco industry, so just, leading, I'd do a design and then I'd lead a project team to put that design in, so that was when I first started doing that.
Yeah, and how was that for you when you first started leading
hard.
teams?
Yeah, it's hard, right? You've got to work out what motivates people and how to get them to do, how to execute, how to implement, right? So your motivations and theirs could be different. So when you work that out, things get easier.
Was it kind of one of those things where you're very good at, your job, so therefore you get put in charge of others? Was that kind of how you first got into that leadership?
I was probably, I've always been an architect, so I was probably good at architecting stuff.
Yeah.
And then so I needed to, for that to turn into a project, I needed to get others to put the stuff in and implement it. So you're trying to convince them to put your design in, right? And they might not have the same motivations or passion as you. So you worked out, who you could use in the team, who you couldn't. It's hard. So once again, you'll hear me talk about Grant Smith, one of my sort of best bosses. He was always like, you just need to find out what motivates people, and hopefully that's what motivates you as well. And then that's a great relationship, and then you can get stuff done. But if they're not motivated in the same way, it can make it pretty hard.
Yeah. Were there any moments back in those initial years where some great things happened due to the leadership things or the teams that you ran? Yeah,
there was. I still remember moving a whole lot of service from a data center for telecom, and I had it's quite a big project, and it was all happening in the middle of the night, and there was a good team around me, and we thought we had everything covered, and we didn't. And I remember thinking that if we didn't get all these servers up before people came in at 8 AM in the morning, then I'd be in serious trouble because there'd be no cellular service. So it was just everyone rose up to the challenge, and we got it all working. But so it was the teamwork thing when you really need it. It's the people that when they're under pressure, things start to happen. That's a pretty cool feeling, and you've picked the right team, right?
Yeah.
So,
what do you think helps someone be a good leader and do that successfully?
Looking inside someone to see what motivates them, winning their trust. Working out how they're wired in terms of their integrity and their honesty and their drive. Listening. I think listening is really important. But it is hard. People are hard, right? People are way harder than technology. Yeah. So as we're still finding as we go around the world trying to connect the community back to police, it's the technology's the easy bit.
Yeah. People are the hard bit. You can't just go in and reprogram them.
No. And and what motivates us and what motivates SaferCities and police is often different from what motivates people in other organisations that might have CCTV assets. So you've got to try and work that out.
You've been pretty successful in your hires. We've talked about this a lot of your team and how awesome they are. What are some things that you look for when you're hiring people?
I look for passion. And I've already mentioned the word. I look for integrity, honesty, transparency. I guess I encourage people in the team and myself to own up to our mistakes and apologise to customers. And just I'd rather someone be honest and tell me or other people in the company that they've messed up than they try and cover it up. I saw behaviour in Silicon Valley in one of the business units I was in, and in the United States is fantastic. But you can get rid of people quite easy, right? You can fire people, bang. And I saw that drive a certain culture that I didn't enjoy looking at. So they were all, there was a protectionism, there was a, I can't get caught out here, I might get fired, and I've got a mortgage and everything. So it motivated them to do certain things, and I always remember thinking it was really unhealthy. So yeah, I actively encourage people to share their mistakes with others in the company, and they're never penalised for that. You know, they're almost saluted for it.
Yeah.
So it changes the whole feel of the company when no one's worried about getting in trouble, and we can all learn from it and make it better.
Yeah, that sort of thing of like leading with fear is like something that a lot of people just don't realise they're doing sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Are there other things like that you've seen in the past in your old previous jobs that people don't even realise they're doing, but isn't a great trait as a leader?
Yeah, I think feeling dictated to, you know, worried about not making the boss happy, things like that. And I'm sure I'm not perfect. I do tend to be a perfectionist with some things, and I can't tell you what that is until I see it.
Yeah.
And when there's lots of plates spinning, I'm sure it's easy to appear a little bit like that, but I try pretty hard not to be. And actually one thing I love, and I openly attract anyone in the company to do it, is to challenge each other, to challenge me, you know, to basically some of the parts, right? In fact, I like that. It's not that I enjoy confrontation, but I love us all to try and leave our egos at the door and, you know, make the company better and make our customers happier.
Yeah. It's a hard thing for a lot of leaders to do, right? Like it's not normal to be out, like you finally get to that leadership position, and then you've got to actually realise you got to let it go.
Yeah, and I'm smiling because I made a mistake yesterday. I made a bad call, and so we were putting a package together for a customer, fantastic customer, and we had a little mini argument about something I wanted in there, and my CTO and my CEO said, no, you're wrong, Scotty. And it's like, well, let's just, you know, see how we go, and we changed it around, and the customer, as they thought, got confused, and so I was completely wrong, and the CTO and the COO are completely right, and I just had to go, you know, well done guys, I conceded defeat here, and you were right, I was wrong, right? And you've got to, and it's hard sometimes, right? You kind of like, you don't like being wrong, but you know, where you are, you've got to admit it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
I hate it every time the guys get it on me.
It's happening more often for me.
Yeah, 100%. You talked about it before, like finding motivated people. Do you find it hard to motivate? Like, if you found someone who isn't maybe motivated, do you have strategies on how to motivate them? Yeah,
it is hard. If someone's not motivated, I do find it hard to motivate them. But I guess I try and find out how they're wired and if there's anything wrong that's going on. And I mean, people need to motivate themselves. So you've just got to find that core and see if you can excite it.
Yeah.
And probably like yourself, I've seen examples of bad leadership where they're using fear to motivate, or yelling, or you know, big sticks, right? Which I don't think is long-term sustainable, and certainly doesn't lead to a happy culture. I'm really thrilled at the moment. I constantly hear our staff say how happy they are to be with the company, and they love what the company does, and they're smiling and laughing. It's, you know, it's just. And I saw a slogan the other day that you know, a customer won't pick a company until unless they know that the staff themselves love the company, right? Something like that. It comes across, and I've seen it come across in a few restaurants where I just love being there because all the bar staff are really happy, and you know, you feel it, and it makes you want to come back again. So that's what we try and create.
That's amazing. We used to say in hospitality that when you walk to an hotel, you can smell the leadership in a place. Yeah. And the same in restaurants and things like that. It's that sort of feeling, right? You can feel the staff are loving it. There's
a restaurant that my wife and I are going to a lot at the moment called Amano, and I'm not sure how they do it, but it's just, it's that feeling. Whoever the leader is of that is doing a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And you never see him or her, so you know, they're behind the scenes, but all the staff, you know, they clearly love what they do.
I used to have a leader who said to me, "You can't motivate people; you can only find motivated people."
Yeah.
And that it just because they're not motivated with you doesn't mean they're not good people. They're just not the right environment for them. They need to find somewhere better.
absolutely.
If you face an issue with someone in the workplace, like things happen, how do you think the best way to sort these sorts of issues out when they're people problems?
Just to have open, honest, transparent conversations. Just have good one-on-one conversations and work out what's going on in their life. It might be nothing to do with the company or the job. And that actually happened recently with one of our staff members, and is having some issues, and he's completely going brilliantly now and doing some of his best work. So I think that's really beautiful when you see how you can turn things around just by being understanding and allowing them to work through some things. So.
Is that something with, you've got Chris and Adam who are young and,
Yep.
and you've been mentoring them along in their careers. Is that, how do you help them do the same thing as you?
Yeah, they're naturally doing it now, and I'm loving watching it. So maybe I've shown that to them and they've copied it on.
Yeah.
But I think they're naturally high emotional IQ, intelligent people in their own right, as are all the others in the company as well. So I think a lot of people look at the values that you have, and if they like them, then they emulate them. So that's I'd like to think if that happens.
So kind of leading from the front, you've just done it, and they've had their careers growing up around you. So they've it's been osmosis.
That's the hope, right? Yeah.
So, do you think that they've, because they are young leaders. I mean, they're great young leaders, but it is hard for young people to have those deep, honest conversations with people and have that. Have you seen that wherever they've struggled in that, or how have they been able to get to the level where they need to be at these days?
Yeah, I haven't seen them do it, but I've seen how happy the staff that work with them are. So I'm figuring things are going pretty well. You feel it. You can read people's body language and behaviour, and listen to their comments and understand whether they're happy or not. And everyone seems to be. So nice. It's a big company's a family company like ours as well. It's a living, evolving thing, and as it's growing bigger, it gets harder and harder to do that.
Yeah.
So
that's a great segue. You are growing rapidly at the moment for you guys. Where you've come from, where you're about to go, in that scale up phase. What gaps have you got in personalities and leadership styles that you think you need to round out the team? Yeah,
really good question. I think it's probably more of the same personalities we've got. I think we've got some really good personalities in the companies, but we need to find more of them.
Yeah.
So probably more on what I do, and we've got a new guy with the company now who's doing great and seems to be fearless in terms of cold calling and pushing into new frontiers. And he's only been with the company a short time. He's coming along really nicely. So we're trying to grow her in terms of the products that we have and the problems that we're solving. So we probably need more of him and more of me. But yeah, we're liking who's attracted to the company, and we're liking who's wanting to join it. So it's just trying to find enough people like that.
Yeah, fantastic. One thing I've really enjoyed about my career over the years is the people who I've led in the past and where they've gone on to now.
Yep.
They've gone on to do some really cool, amazing things.
That's true.
Have you got any stories about people like that from your past, maybe before, obviously, SaferCities? Because,
Yeah, I have. In SaferCities and before, actually, people I had working for me in Europe who have gone on to do great things, and you see them on LinkedIn, and you feel really proud.
Yeah.
And there's been people in SaferCities that have done the same. Actually, in fact, one of them, exec PA I had, who was just fantastic. She's now in the police, and she always wanted to do that, and she's loving it. A fantastic search and rescue role. There's a guy who's ended up in defence, doing great work, and one of our programmer who was fantastic, also doing his own thing and doing very well. So yeah, it's great to see it.
Yeah.
We never want to lose them, but so if they're going to go and follow their own passions, then you need to let them do that.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to leadership, you've worked for Cisco and as massive as that company is, and then all the way down to SaferCities and your small business. It was you and Chris at one stage.
Yes.
What's different about leadership in a big corporate organisation like that and a small family-run business here?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think I prefer the smaller startups, the family-run business. Um, I I like to see groups where it's the sum of the parts and everyone challenges each other. I think as the corporate gets bigger and hierarchy starts to come into it, it's harder for that to happen, or it's not in the culture for that to happen. So I bounced all around the world for Cisco and met some great people and had some great bosses and some great people to work with. But I didn't find the same some of the parts, culture that we have in SaferCities, and certainly I enjoyed in SciTech when I was working for Grant Smith. So, and it could be a function of company size.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard once companies get bigger than 20 and then bigger than 100, the culture does change. So we will see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, perfect. My last sort of question I want to ask you is, you've mentioned Grant Smith every series, every episode.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to you just about anything, he comes up.
Yep.
So what I want you to finish on is, what are the 3 top traits of Grant Smith that you think made him a great leader for you?
Strategic intelligence, integrity, and honesty, and I put those in the same word, and just doing the right thing for the customer. So, and one thing that he had that we've carried on in SaferCity, which is that if a customer comes to you with a problem, and you can't solve that problem to the standard that you'd like to, then you say that and you say no and you turn the business away.
Yeah.
And it's quite a rare thing to do, and sometimes the customers are like, why are they turning the business away? I'm offering them money and they don't want to do it. And invariably what happens is they come back with a second problem or a third problem or a fourth problem and say, what about this? Would you help me with that? So something I saw back in those days, and we see it now.
Yeah.
So it's the power of no, if you think you can't solve the problem for them the right way. So
That's amazing.
But just an amazing leader, very understated, very modest. And I learned a lot from him, and I still do.
Yeah, fantastic. It almost sounds like, from my perspective, you're talking about yourself. You've really, I guess, but that's a good leader, right? He imparted his wisdom onto you, the same as you're doing for Chris and Adam.
Trying to, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks very much, Stanley. Thanks for listening.